No, it's fine. You can leave all the in. I don't give
Maybe I'll put that part in this party just for fun. Can I do that?
Yes, you can. I consent to you showing the world that I say.
Okay.
This video is not medical advice. This video is for entertainment purposes only.
You're okay if we record?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's YouTube, so
Yeah.
I figure it's happening.
I already didn't catch your name. I know you said it like a moment ago.
It's Kristen. In
Kristen.
fact,
K-R-I-S-T-N.
I have a rap with my name,
Why is that?
Kristen Johnson from Wisconsin. So there you go.
Should be a rapper.
Hashtag that.
Okay. Okay. And I guess what is something that we believe that you want to chat about?
What do I believe that I want to chat about? Well, first of all, I believe that Green Bay is a pretty awesome place. I grew up here and I moved to Madison for many years and then I moved back and it's like after 30 years, it's very different. And I'm really enjoying the fact that there's a YouTuber on the corner where I live.
Okay, cool.
I think that's pretty cool. I did not expect that when I moved back to Green Bay.
Sure.
But no, that's just a nice, little plug for the city I moved to. But really, I believe that I mean, I hate to sound cliche, but I believe science is like a really good thing.
Okay.
And I'm excited that there are new vaccines coming out pretty soon so I can get re-upped
Okay.
with my vaccination.
Sure. So, you want to talk about vaccines?
I sure do.
Okay. So, sounds like you're excited about
I
vaccines.
am because my immune system doesn't function very well.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
And
that.
yeah, well, I mean, it's common. A lot of people have autoimmune disease, and if the majority of people doesn't get vaccinated, then people like me are going to have problems when it comes to reducing our likelihood of getting things like COVID or even the flu or measles, which is on the rise. So,
Okay.
I think that it really helps me as an individual when other people come on board with that, and I appreciate other people for getting vaccinated.
Sure. It sounds like what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you're saying that vaccines are safe and effective.
I would say so, yes. I mean, they're not without side effects. Like one of the things that's hard for me with getting vaccinated is I have lupus. I have systemic and discoid lupus, and I have to be on a lot of immunosuppressants. I'm on 4 different immunosuppressive type medications.
Sure.
And when I get vaccinated, I have to go off of them so that my immune system can respond to the vaccine, right? But the same is true if I would get sick. So like if I would get COVID or if I would get
You'd have to stop those medications.
sort of virus, I have to stop those medications so that my immune system can fight off whatever's infected me. So it's really important for me to get vaccinated, even though I have to deal with the side effects and the non-pleasantness of going off my medications.
Right.
It's worth it in the end because it would be much worse if I actually would get COVID or get another disease.
And you want to talk about what makes you believe that vaccines are safe and effective?
Because I mean, there's a lot of research that goes into getting vaccines approved and a lot of people dedicating their life's work to making them safe and and fighting the misinformation around vaccines, which makes you even have to ask that question, right? And I also, thousands and thousands of people who have been vaccinated without any issues at all.
Yeah.
So
Some people.
I mean, there's scientific evidence for it, but then there's the what we observe, and there's many people walking around here
Sure.
healthy and vaccinated and not coming down with any weird things because of it.
How confident are you that vaccines are safe and effective?
I'd say 100% once they get to the point where they're sticking them in our arms.
And can you think of anything that could reduce your confidence that you could learn um, that might go from 100% to maybe 90%?
You know, I mean, I suppose if there was more, you know, if there was research that came out, long-term studies that came out that showed that there was some sort of negative effect, then I would look at that for sure. But in the case of like vaccines and autism, there's like nothing
Okay.
legitimate.
So if there was, how many studies would it take? Would it just take one study? Would it take 10, 100? I mean,
It would depend on the study and the size of the population that was studied, but
okay,
you
the
know,
sample size.
yeah, I would think that, you know, if it's a larger sample size, then it would hold more weight, but still, one study is just one study. We have to look at, you know, a number of different studies to know that the research is really
So
reproducible.
let me throw out I'll throw out a hypothetical.
Yeah,
Let's say that there was 50 studies that showed vaccines are safe and effective. Let's just talk about one vaccine. Let's say the flu vaccine
yeah.
is safe and effective, and then there was 50 studies that show that it wasn't. How could we determine which study was representative of the truth?
Oh my God. So, well, I'm not a researcher, but I know enough that, you know, you would have to look at those 50 studies. That's a lot of studies. So I would tend to think,
Let's just say one and one. Always take motorcycles. One study and one study. Let's just say.
well, yeah, I mean, you would have to compare the, again, the sample size and, you know, the conditions of the research
Okay.
or the, you know, I don't know the words, uh, like the like the organization that is doing the research. You know, there's a lot of factors, like depending on whether it was done at a university or corporation did the research, or I mean, you look at all the different.
I think what I'm hearing you say, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe when you say the organization, you mean like maybe the bias that they might have?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Okay,
guess that's what I'm getting at.
so like if it was the organization that made the vaccine, they might be biased to find a favorable result. Whereas if it was
Yeah,
organization that's
was
maybe has
was looking for a problem
yeah,
or
yeah.
had, I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I guess whenever I look at research, I just ask a lot of questions about, you know, who did it um and yeah, what is surrounding that, how many people are in it, you know. So I do look at a lot of different papers for a lot of different things because of my health issues, and I have a Bachelor of Science in dietetics, so I know a little bit about, but I mean, like, that happened multiple decades ago. So, you know, my ability to explain what I do when I'm thinking about it is kind of limited.
Plus, this is completely on the fly.
I still haven't finished my coffee yet.
Oh no. Okay.
But
I'll just ask
yeah,
one more question, then I'll let you get on to the farmers market.
no, this is fun. This is cool.
If you were mistaken about vaccines being safe and effective, would
Yeah,
you want to know that you were mistaken?
yeah, yeah, for sure. You know, I think it would be important to know if you got it wrong, because people do get it wrong. I don't think we're wrong about this though, but
Okay.
it happens.
Yeah, you're 100%.
You have to be open-minded.
Yeah. If you were to try to investigate if you were mistaken, how would you go about it?
Eh, Um, well, I mean, I guess I would just go back to like the research that has been done, and I would look into whether statistically any of the claims that people were making actually showed up as being significant in the research as opposed to being statistically insignificant, where it's just not enough people, and it is probably a coincidence for them that that was happening at the same time that they got vaccinated. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. I think I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
like there's a difference between something being significant statistically for a whole population and being true when you look at it from that population level versus just true for one person. It might be true for that person that they got a stomach ache after they got a vaccine,
Sure.
but it may not be true that the whole world would get a stomach ache because
What would
it
it take?
could be coincidence or some other thing going on.
What would it take for you to go from the belief that it would be just possibly a coincidence to it being something that's not a coincidence and occurring more widespread?
That would show up in the research. Like it shows up as a list of possible effects and the correlating percentage of the population that suffered those ill effects. It would be right in the study.
Next question I'm going to ask here, it's kind of like a real reason check. I like to sometimes explain what I am asking, what I'm
Yeah.
asking. So, with regards to the research, if you were to your satisfaction, determine that somehow the research was flawed in some way, inaccurate, not good, flawed.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would that do to your confidence? Would you still be at 100%?
Well, I mean, if there was some flaw in research, it definitely is disappointing when that happens. Like,
Yeah.
you go people scientists go into doing research because they have a hypothesis of something being true.
Yeah.
And when you find out the thing you thought was true isn't, then that could be really disappointing and make you think twice about what you think you believe. So, yeah, that would, if there was some big research study that said, oh geez, these really were not effective or maybe even damaging, then I would be really disappointed. But that's the beauty of science, is once you make those discoveries, then they can figure out how to fix it, how to improve the outcomes,
So-
how to change the chemistry of the substance to be able to be more
Make it
effective.
better and safer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. But I guess my question is, what would it do to your confidence, like before they make improvement? Let's say you find out that the research is somehow flawed. You don't know how, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, would you still be at 100%? Would you be at 99?
Oh, yeah. I guess I didn't
Yeah.
give a number to it.
Okay. You don't have to give a number, but I
Um,
guess would you drop your confidence?
Yeah, I mean, it would go down a little bit. I can't. It would depend on the study, of course, but it would shake my perspective a little bit. I guess drop down to maybe 95.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Only 95.
Yeah.
Is there another reason besides the? Well, I guess I did write down a few things.
I think
Research.
it just depends on the thing, but I guess with with the COVID vaccines especially, they've really found that it is so
Sure.
it is effective, and there's been a lot of research done at this point, so it would take a lot to really shake that for me, I think.
Okay. I guess, do you have anything left any questions for me
Um,
or anything you want to say?
how did you decide to do this?
Oh, okay, good
This
question.
is interesting.
It is a little bit of a long story, but I had a person who I had a very bad interaction with. Um, they were close. Well, they were a friend of mine, and we were kind of butting heads about a particular topic,
Mm.
and it was very emotional. And I went down kind of a rabbit hole of researching, I guess you could say, that topic in a way.
Yeah.
And that's when I found straight epistemology, a better way to have conversations. And I had wished that I had taken this approach rather than the approach that I had taken.
Just asking a lot of
Asking
questions.
questions, exploring the epistemology,
Yeah,
and being cordial.
I like that. That's a good approach. This has been very cordial.
Anything else you got for me before I cut you loose?
Go Pack Go.
Okay, it's Packer game day. We'll be over at the stadium later today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Actually, I'm not really.
Oh, there you go.
But I have to say it because I live in Green Bay now. You know. Anything. Yeah. Well, this was cool.
Huh?
So how long have you been doing this?
It's
Oops.
Since late 2019. Originally, I was just
wow.
doing it online. I got some. There you go.
Oh, my
I'll
goodness.
get you one of my cards too.
So is it if I just search for Street Epistemology on YouTube? Right?
Well, you'll find a lot of different people. Find
Oh.
these guys.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I'll find you on here.
Okay, sounds good. Doesn't have to be hurt.
I hope you did some good interviews. I had to go right for the vaccinations.